Hi everyone! This week we were to focus on an EdTech tool to showcase for the class. One of the ed tools that was mentioned in the math tools section was Khan Academy because of the great videos to explain mathematical concepts. Khan Academy is also useful in a history classroom as well. Last year our department was tasked of creating a standard practice for students to retake or redo assignments in a classroom. When students wanted to quote-unquote redo a test, students had to first show that they were working towards mastery in that particular area of struggle. A great aspect of Khan Academy is that you can assign a particular piece to a student for them to focus on, rather than studying the areas in which they've already shown mastery. So let's take a look at the ways Khan Academy can help you in your history classroom. First, go to khanacademy.org, that's K-H-A-N, academy.org, where you see the homepage for learners, teachers, districts, and parents. A majority of the content is free as they are a non-for-profit organization, but when you get into the test prep tools, they do ask for a little bit of money here and there. If you look in the top left corner of the screen, the site gives you a list of courses that are offered, including grade level, even as young as preschool, which I'll use for my daughter. And you can select content, math, science, computing, arts and humanities, which we will look at momentarily, AP courses within each of those, college readiness, and also those test prep tools for your future doctors with the MCAT, nurses with the NCLEX, lawyers with the LSAT, and for those future teachers, the Praxis. In the right corner, you will see the sign up button, where you can sign up as a teacher, parent, or learner. For learners, they have to sign up with their birth date and also enter a class code, which I'll show you how to include that momentarily. For teachers and parents, they can sign up using Google or Facebook or sign up with a particular email address. So, Google was the particular method that I chose. Once I selected Login, I'm now on my home dashboard. It will ask you to select the areas or fields in which you would like to focus on. It can be grade specific or content specific or both. Since I taught history for a number of years, I selected anything that fell within the realm of social sciences and even the college admissions and career section for groups that I'm working with now. As you can see on my home screen, it gives you a list of your courses, also the students, and resources for the teachers to use. So now I want to create student profiles for those in my class, and I will be creating one for my husband. So I first click on the class that I want, and as you can see, I have no students added, but along the left-hand side, I can set goals, assign those students those particular assignments, and now I want to add my student roster. For those students that you needed a class code for, it's typically up here in the right-hand corner. So I'm going to add new students, and as you can see, I can select by inviting them through Google Classroom with that class link, or I can individually create those student accounts. So I'm going to set up an account, and it gives you a unique username and then a password for students to be able to log in with. Create, and if you have a large number of students, it can print out an Excel spreadsheet which gives you all of the information such as those usernames and passwords for those students. Now that you have your students in your classroom, you can go and start to assign material to those students. So I've clicked on Assign, and it gives you a list of periods or units that you can select from. One thing that I do like about this particular site is that you can select it for US History or AP US History. We usually pick the AP version for our advanced students to give them a little bit more of a challenge, but for everyone else, we would select the US History section. So we've just taken our test over the 1920s in the United States. I noticed that some students have not done very well, and so I want to assign them a particular area for them to focus on. So first I find the age range or the year range that I'm looking for, 1890 to 1945, and it selects downward, and it gives me a whole list of things that falls in that particular year range. But since this test was on the 1920s, that is where we are going to focus our attention. I noticed that Dustin did not perform well on his test when discussing American culture in the 1920s. And there is an entire section on American culture in the 1920s. If you click on it, it gives you an overview of the section, and then it gives you an article and information to read about that particular subject. Down at the bottom, it gives you questions. Some have 3, 4, 5, depending on the article itself. One thing that we wanted students to do was we wanted students to answer those questions to see what they've read. You can answer the questions on Khan Academy if you have accumulated a series of points, but we had our students add their responses to their Khan Academy section on their OneNote class notebook. It was a great way to keep a paper trail of answers and to have an individualized response from each student. You knew that you were not getting information from one student that passed it on to the next person. You could use this in Google Classroom, but for Microsoft users like Robertson County, this was the area that we decided would work best. So I'm going to assign this particular section to my lone student, Dustin, and then I can select the proper date and time for them to turn in the assessment. Now the ball is in their court. So I want them to do it by tomorrow night at 11:59. Again, this is very individualized for student performance, and it helps them gain the knowledge about a particular area that needs attention. Once they have completed the readings, then I can assign the exercise, America in the 1920s. Once I click on it, it gives me 8 questions that could be selected, and students will receive 4 of those. I've enjoyed going back through this and actually using these on some of my own personal tests for students to use. So I can assign the content to Dustin, and if I assign it to a multitude of students, I can ask for different questions for each student to make sure that they're not copying off of each other, or the same set for all students. Again, due date and time, and click Assign. One thing that I do like about this particular portion is that not only does it ask the question and I can select a response, it tells me if I'm right or wrong and why. It gives the response of why that particular answer was correct or incorrect for that section, and also a few highlighting tools. So once we have assigned our assessments to those students, then we can go back and check scores. I can see what I've assigned and if they have completed it or not. I can also check progress, course mastery. I can do the class as a whole, or I can look at individual students depending on what I'm looking for in the class. We can make sure that students are completing those tasks or if they're just skimming the articles. We use this as a tool to get students to A, want to invest in retaking a test or an assignment. It's a little bit extra work, and so we were very intentional with this method. But B, it also personalized information for each individual student. They did not have to learn the entire material over again and could truly focus on the area of improvement. Not only did we see students working on it in class, but they could also take it home without a teacher in front of them. Due to this particular method, we did see an increase in TVOS scores for U.S. history on our end of course exam. It is a wonderful tool for any grade level or material. We will be using it for a class that we have currently without a teacher in the room when we return back from break. I hope that you will look at using Khan Academy for your students, for those that especially need that individualized attention in an area in which they're struggling. Thank you guys, and enjoy Khan Academy.